Hey, I'm Grant with Grant's Game Rex. Welcome to my monthly video on the best board game expansions coming to retail. Every month, a bunch of expansions come out. Some of them are for old games, games that are getting new content for the first time in years, and then sometimes also games these days are releasing with expansions the month they release. They're releasing extra content right away. So, you can find kind of expansions for games from all over the timeline of the board game hobby. We got about 12 expansions coming to retail this month, so hopefully you find something that you like. Thanks so much for being here. First up in March, Arcane Wonders, in association with Greater Than Games, is releasing a number of expansions to their game Freedom 5, a Sentinel Comics board game. Freedom 5 came out, the base game came out in February, and now it's already getting a bunch of expansion content to it. All of these expansions work for Freedom 5, the game that is 1 to 5 players, 90 to 240 minutes, and it is a medium weight game. So all of the expansions are extra content, but maintain that 1 to 5 player count for the game. Freedom 5 is a cooperative strategy game in which you play as various heroes trying to save the city and its inhabitants from bad guys. And each of the heroes has unique special abilities, unique play styles, so that's some of the fun of the game is playing as different heroes and getting to know their play styles and their special abilities. The other interesting thing about Freedom 5 as the base game, you can either play it in standalone challenges, or you can mix it up and adventure through a series of campaign comics in which you will gain rewards each session. So you can be played as standalone or played as an expansion with some storyline and some upgrade throughout the game. So in the world of expansions, they're releasing Freedom 5, Rubble and Ruin, 1 to 5 players, 90 minutes, medium weight. This adds 6 new scenario comics to the game. So as I mentioned, you can kind of play through a campaign. Well, this adds 6 new scenarios that you can add to game sessions of Freedom 5. It also adds 1 new hero character that you can play as, Unity, and it adds a couple, wicked masterminds and terrifying villains that you can play against. So more content in terms of who you play as and play against, but this particular expansion is really about those extra scenario comics to expand the core game. Arcane Wonders, in association with Greater Than Games, is also releasing Freedom 5 Cosmic Threats. This is a big addition to the game, and it adds a ton of new content to it. It adds 2 new playable heroes. It adds 3 new terrifying masterminds to face, a bunch of villains, scenario comic books, mystery envelopes, extra cards, and more. So if you're only going to get 1 expansion, but you want a lot of content in that 1 expansion, it seems like Cosmic Threats is the expansion to get, in that it has the most sort of extra stuff, the most extra cards, the most extra villains, the most extra characters, all of that. And you are defending Earth from an alien invasion. Again, Freedom 5 is a cooperative game, so if you want to team up and fight against invading aliens, then do it with Cosmic Threats. Arcane Wonders and Greater Than Games is also releasing Freedom 5 Team Up Pack, Parse and the Scholar. This is 2 new playable heroes for the game, and as I mentioned earlier, all the playable heroes have asymmetric abilities, powers, play styles to learn. So the 2 heroes in this are Parse and the Scholar. You get new ability cards, player boards, personal task cards, and special tokens for each character. Then next up, we have Arcane Wonders and Greater Than Games are releasing Freedom 5 Team Up Pack, Chrono-Ranger and Guise. These are, again, 2 additional characters, heroes that you can play as. And so it includes ability cards, player boards, personal task cards, special tokens, and each, come with their own playstyle that you get to explore. If you want a bunch of different heroes to play as, well, all of this expansion. The base game included 5 heroes in it, and so, it was enough to play a 5-player game, but you weren't sort of mixing and matching heroes. Now, if you get some of these expansions, you can choose your favorite hero or try a different hero and mix and match different heroes together in games. Lastly, Arcane Wonders and Greater Than Games are releasing Freedom 5 Miniature Pack. The retail version of the base game did not come with miniatures in it. A lot of times retail versions don't. They come with standees or acrylic standees, cardboard standees more likely. So this adds unpainted miniatures for all of the core game heroes. I mentioned there were 5 heroes in the base game: Legacy, Tachyon, Bunker, Wraith, and Absolute Zero. So now you can get miniatures for all of those if you want to, upgrade your game experience for Freedom 5. Flat River Games and Matago are releasing Evenfall: The Crystal Path. This plays 1 to 4 players in 60 to 120 minutes, and it is a medium weight game. Evenfall came out in the United States last year. It came out in Europe before that, just like this expansion came out in Europe last year, but now is hitting the United States. Evenfall made my list of top 10 strategy games last year. I really liked Evenfall a lot. It was a cool mix of worker placement, engine building, upgrading your character. You were playing as a coven of witches, and you were getting cards in front of you, and cards then comboed well together, and that was some of the engine building aspect. But there was a lot of other things. There was a lot going on in the game. You could place these workers, these witches, down to gain benefits from some spots in the central play area. You're getting cards from there. You're laying cards down on top of other cards to get extra special benefits. You have a top row and a bottom row, and you're going to move cards down, and they're going to get you different benefits based on which row they're in use. So, it felt maybe even like a medium plus weight game, but it was a game that I liked a lot, and, had a fun theme, but it was just really all about those card combos and engine building. That was what made Evenfall really great. So this expansion adds 2 new clans. I forgot to mention in the base game there were 4 clans, and each of them, had a sort of common side and an asymmetric side. So once you got good at the game, you could play asymmetric clans and figure out how they played and figure out, how to use your special abilities. Well, this adds 2 new clans to the game. So, if you want more asymmetry to explore, that helps with that. It adds a ton of new rituals, specialists, and places of power cards to explore. There's a lot of those. It adds a new board. One of the things that was kind of annoying about the first version of this game, the base game, was the scoreboard was fiddly, and so it adds a new scoreboard, so you don't have to get annoyed by that anymore, which is nice. And it does note that part of this expansion can be modularly integrated into the base game. So yeah, Evenfall is definitely worth checking out. Pinebox Entertainment is releasing Doomtown Whispers of War expansion. This plays 1 to 4 players in 30 to 60 minutes, and it is a medium weight game. This is an expansion to Doomtown Weird West Edition, which came out in 2023. And Doomtown Weird West Edition was an updated version of a 2014 game called Doomtown Reloaded, which itself was based on a 1998 game called Deadlands Doomtown. So we've gone through a big iteration of this game. Doomtown is a Wild West themed game where you are playing cards, and the cards, like there was a poker aspect of the game. You were winning through poker hands, and then there was territory control, and it wasn't just like a card game. There was other mechanisms put in there. Well, this War of Whispers expansion introduces a second dual faction dude, as well as an updated Law Dogs Fort 51 and new iterations of several returning cards as voted upon by our own players. It also includes a brand new solo scenario, so if you would like to play Doomtown solo, you can do that. Includes 240 cards in this expansion, so yeah, a lot to explore there. Ravensburger is releasing a new set for Disney Lorcana. This is Archazia's Island. Lorcana is a TCG, a card game where you can get a bunch of packs and explore the world of Disney, and it's meant to be mostly a two-player game where you're kind of dueling against somebody else. Well, this new set features a lot of friendly pets from the world of Disney. You get the Aristocats. There's a bunch of cards from the Aristocrats. You're getting Bolt, which is a Disney movie that I feel like nobody remembers about that little dog. You're getting stuff from Lady and the Tramp. All different types of pet things. And with any of these new sets in Lorcana, you can buy booster packs, you can buy single player decks, you can buy a trove of a bunch of content. You can kind of buy as much as you want, and there is a lot to buy should you want to. So I've always thought Lorcana is a really good introduction to TCGs. If you've been thinking about getting into TCGs, Lorcana is probably an easier game to learn than something like Magic the Gathering. So yeah, it's a good introduction to the world of TCGs, and that world is pretty deep. So be prepared to go down a rabbit hole if you want to. Next up, Renegade Game Studios is releasing Unstoppable Tyrant's End. This plays 1 to 2 players in 30 to 90 minutes, and it is a medium weight game. I talked about Unstoppable during my Best Games Coming to Retail March video recently, only a few days ago. So if you want an expansion for Unstoppable that just came out, they already have one. Unstoppable is a deck building game that includes card crafting, meaning that you are sliding these cards into another card with a sleeve and upgrading the cards. You are, building the card better. You're adding special abilities to the card. You're adding cool upgrades to the card. But in Unstoppable, one of the things that's interesting about the game is as you are crafting the cards, you're also on the back side of the card are bad guys you're going to have to fight through, and as you upgrade the front of the card, which you can use, you're also making the back of the card stronger. So that's interesting. And again, solo game or 2-player cooperative game. So this expansion introduces 2 new playable characters. It adds new cards for the core decks and upgrade deck, and a new keyword. So just a bunch of more content for the game Unstoppable. Renegade Game Studios is releasing Risk 2210 AD Frontline expansion. Risk 2210 is a version of the game Risk, but it's set in space where you are playing as you are playing as mods, which are machines of destruction, and so it's it's the future, and it uses some of the mechanisms of Risk where you're spreading across the board and battling each other, but it does include a 5 turn game limit, which allows for, you know, games to be shorter. Instead of like 3 weeks, they're just like 3 hours. That sort of thing. So this expansion for Risk 2210. So this expansion for Risk 2210 AD Frontline plays 2 to 5 players in 240 minutes, and it is a medium weight game. This adds 4 previously released expansions, but they were only released as tournament prizes in the mid-2000s. So this has 4 different sort of modules in it, if you will. There's Mars, where you get to add 2 new locales, Mars and the Martian moons Phobos and Deimos. It adds the Tech Commander, which is a 6th commander that is added to the game with a new command card set that adds advanced weapons and tactics. There are factions. Before each game begins, each player chooses one of 6 factions, and there's the invasion of the giant amoebas. At the beginning of each turn, the active player draws from the amoeba event deck, with amoebas being an extraterrestrial threat with advanced technology that will threaten everyone. Dun dun dun. Next up, Steve Jackson Games is releasing Munchkin Shadowrun Hack the Future expansion. This plays 3 to 6 players in 60 to 120 minutes, and it is a medium weight game. Munchkin Shadowrun came out not that long ago. It added a bunch of art and characters to Shadowrun, and, you know, Munchkin is known mostly as a card game. This is a board game. This feels more like an actual board game with a board element to it. And so this is just adding a bunch of more cards to Munchkin Shadowrun. We've got more guns, more magic, more digital monsters that you can shake your cred stick at. Just a bunch more cards for this Munchkin game. And lastly, the Op, in association with Roxley Games, is releasing Marvel Dice Throne Deadpool expansion. Dice Throne is a great game where you are sort of Yahtzee dice rolling and then assigning them to actions to either attack or defend from your character. And it's meant to be sort of a 1v1 game, a head-to-head game, but you can play it in teams, 2v2, and it is, there's been a lot of different characters, and they're all asymmetric, and they all have different abilities and cool special powers, and it's just there's a lot of replayability in Dice Throne in exploring all the different characters that are in Dice Throne, and there's been a lot of different versions of Dice Throne. I'm actually going to talk about in my new editions video, which I will be releasing next in my monthly series, about there's a couple of Marvel X-Men Dice Throne boxes coming out this month. I'll tell you more about them in that next video. But this Marvel Dice Throne, this is the Deadpool version of the game. This is an expansion in that it is only a single character for Marvel Dice Throne, that character being Deadpool, so you do need other content to play, but they do a great job in the Marvel Dice Throne world in those games. They do a great job of the asymmetric powers feel really connected to the characters that you're playing as. You know, when you're playing as Thor, you are throwing your hammer and it's going over to somebody else and doing damage and then coming back to you. And so the things you're doing feel like the characters. So if you're into Marvel stuff, if you watch the movies or read the comic books, then I think you'll really like these because you're like, hey, I get that. And so Deadpool, this character, I have played as it, and it's very silly. It adds a bunch of random weird stuff to the character of Deadpool. Yes, you're going to be rolling dice, assigning actions, fighting, but then you can yell out stuff, and if you yell out these dumb phrases, then you get bonuses, and you're just doing silly stuff like that. There's certainly it's one of the silliest characters I've played as in a Marvel Dice Throne, just being like, Deadpool is irreverent. He doesn't take things seriously. So they captured that in this character for sure. So if you want to play as Deadpool, Marvel Dice Throne Deadpool expansion is how you can do that. So there we go. Those are our 12 expansions coming to retail here in the month of March. Thank you so much for being here. I try to bring you all the information every month, and so I hope you always appreciate it and find something you like. Thanks so much for liking, subscribing, sharing, all that good stuff. I will be back with more soon. Thanks.